6 or 7 session running the monthly Courage Cafe. And this month's topic is about mental wellness. So really, I think the purpose of running the monthly Courage Cafe, it's also one way for in terms of how we engage our Courage community members. I'll delve in a little bit more about what we do here at the Courage chapter in case this might be the first time you're hearing about us. That being said, we have Dane here as our guest speaker for this month. And for the session of today, it's really about helping you, equipping you with the tools to navigate life challenges with resilience, self-compassion, and gratitude, which you'll hear a little bit more, a lot more from Dane in the sessions. And for those of you new fans, I think I see some familiar names, but I also see some like new names, new fans here. Again, if you just joined, my name is Justin. You may call me Jess. I'm the co-founder of the Courage chapter. And for some of you who might be just hearing us for the first time, I'm just going to take the next 5 minutes to briefly talk about who we are and what we do. Okay, let's get the session started. I think the meeting is also being recorded. Okay, start. So a little bit about the Courage chapter. So the reason why, at least for me, why I started the Courage chapter is because I personally experienced someone close to me being forced to an early retirement. And I believe it's not just me. I think we all have heard of someone that have faced or are facing barriers to employment due to age. And I mean, the whole experience can be incredibly frustrating and yet an eye-opening experience. And then as I got older, I think you could see over here, I pursued a career in HR, and often I think, especially with the recent few years, coupled with like layoffs, I often wonder where senior workers fit in society as they transition into retirement. So really, like the Courage chapter here, it's also my vessel of advocating for a dignified and purposeful continuation. And the name Courage chapter reflects my belief in the courage needed for me and also for others to challenge the norm, to redefine the personal and societal narratives, to embrace and really to celebrate the beauty of every life stage. So that's a little bit about the Courage chapter on how we started, why we started. And I think to quote Dr. Andrew Scott here, who've been talking about gerontology, I think retirement used to be a binary decision where you used to work, either you work or you didn't. But I think together, myself, Courage chapter, community, and even the government and larger society, we play a part in reshaping the workforce of the future, where our seniors can have a choice of work and when to work. And to what the Courage chapter is doing, we help returnees transition to their second chapter through meaningful projects with companies leveraging their expertise for greater business impact. And the word returnee here is a wordplay on how we combine the word return, seniors returning to the workforce, with the value of an experienced professional and a mentor, but with a humility of an intern. So the Courage chapter really helps senior professionals to transition to their second chapter through the meaningful projects. I think we can see in the picture over here. And I think there is a lot of proposition in terms of what we can offer and what companies and seniors really need to do is to find the right fit. So organizations these days, what we notice is that they want to have operational agility in this VUCA environment to expand and also contract their workforce on demand. They also want cost-effective expertise for niche problem and a way to grow their business in a sustainable manner. So on the other hand, seniors here provide time flexibility to plug and play on demand and having the decades of experience and also to work fractionally so that companies can leverage 100% of their brain power, their wisdom for a fraction of their time and cost. Seniors over here also have a vast network, industry know-how, and have, I think, largely a natural inclination to nurture the next generation to bring business to greater heights. And essentially here our services, we integrate all these various synergies into our business model, and we provide talent solutions through our flagship returnship model, where ex-senior professionals provide fractional consulting. We are also able to meet the companies that require like temporary staffing services or contingent hiring to bridge a talent gap. So, for example, covering maternity or covering peak periods, and the seniors then will get to experience different companies and industry all within the same year, while enjoying times to pursue their hobbies and also time with their loved ones. And of course, next on the drawing board is to move upstream and work with companies to provide transition workshop and coaching as well. So this is largely the services that we provide. And typically our clients are, oh, let's click the next slide. And typically our clients are those who want to fill a temporary talent gap. They want strategic support that fits within the budget and timeline, and are also open to new employment models. And since inception, we have already been engaged by these various companies over here. We're very thankful for the opportunity to be engaged by these companies, and they have really shown like very keen interest in our talent solutions. And our experienced senior community members also have found various roles from consultancy to operational ones across MNC startups and charities, as you can see over here on the slide. And with that said, if you haven't already, please also do check us out on the Courage Chapter on our LinkedIn, Facebook, and also on our website. And to stay in touch with more in the first tips in opportunities, feel free to scan the QR code and join our community for the latest updates on what we have been up to and offer. And with that, maybe just a segue to Dane. The rest of the airtime, Dane, it's over to you.
Thank you, Jesslyn. Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to see everybody here. Thanks for being here on the Wednesday evening. And before we begin, today's topic is around mental wellness, thriving in changes and transition. I'm just curious as to, what everybody think when we talk about mental wellness. And if Jesslyn, if we can pull out the Slido, appreciate everyone can just, take out your mobile phone, scan the QR code and join the Slido at 2945812. We'd like to hear, one word or a short phrase, what comes to mind when you think of mental wellness, especially during changes and transition. We just pause here for a few minutes for everyone to whip up their phone and key in the QR code. Okay, people are in the Slido already. Confusion. Yeah. Okay, fear, worry, anxiety. I hear you and I see you. Change, obviously, there's so much changes happening our way, especially with future of work. I think that means like how do we balance? I think with all the changes happening, how do we still maintain mental wellness? I think one big word means that a lot of you share common feelings about mental wellness, anxiety. That's what I'm saying. How do we navigate? How do we embrace changes, the stress that's coming our way? And staying calm is definitely what we are hoping to achieve. Thanks for, to all your inputs. And we would love to, address some of this in today's sessions, whereby we'll talk a little bit of, where are some of the stresses coming from, as well as I will be sharing with you my top 3 tips in terms of how I deal with uncertainty and changes myself and what have worked for me in the past. I hope that will be helpful for everyone here, because indeed it is very uncomfortable and changes is always uncomfortable. I'll just give it for another minute or two. I can see that people are still typing. Feeling lonely, feeling depressed, that can be a manifestations when we do not protect our mental health and mental wellness. And when it escalates, a lot of negative feelings will come. And I'll be sharing later as to, what are some of the impact that we'll be seeing in terms of when we are under stress, how it shows up in our life and our health. Apprehension, yeah, feeling uncomfortable, insecure, losing certainty, losing stability. thanks so much for everyone for, participating, and we definitely can, understand, and I can certainly resonate with how you feel. That's how I felt, especially during COVID, during when I was going through transitions, when I was, changing my line of work. Okay, there are 4 keywords that's showing up right here on the Slido. The first one being uncertainty. I think that's what most people in the room feel. Anxiety. Embrace, I think it's about trying to embrace wellness, embrace what's happening while keeping a positive outlook. And of course, on the other hand, feeling worried, feeling uncertain. That goes hand in hand. Okay, thank you so much for all your participation. I think we understand where all of us are here in the room. So hopefully tonight we'll be able to, create a safe space where people are feeling it's okay to share, your anxiety, your uncertainty, as well as help each other in terms of, what some of the strategies and tips that can work for some of us. I'll just move on to the next slide. Okay, a little bit about myself, and I know some of you, we are friends already, we are connected, and whereas a lot of new faces in the room today. So again, good evening, everyone. My name is Dane. I am the founder of Design Future. It is my own coaching and consulting company. Before this, I was a corporate leader. I've worked 25 years in the corporate environment before I turned to become an entrepreneur. As you can see on the slides, there are some of the logos of companies that I previously worked for. Shell, Johnson & Johnson, L'Oreal, Burger King. You can see LVMH and DFS as well. And over the last 2 years, I have now reinvented myself in my new profession to be a certified executive coach. And I specializes in working with people on life design as well as career design. My mission is very simple. I want to help professionals to build a successful work life that integrate purpose, joy, and fulfillment, which is something that I was searching for all my life. And I'm now working with people to help them to achieve the same goals as well. I'm also equally passionate on the topic of mental wellness. There have been a lot of up and down in my journey, like many of you are facing here. And I have learned a lot along the way as well in terms of how I can embrace mental wellness and to thrive during times of change, which is why today I want to share with you some of those insights, and hopefully it will benefit some of you and help you to make life a little bit better throughout this journey. More importantly, I want to create a safe space where we can all learn and to share with each other here tonight. I'll move on to the next slide. And before we begin, I want to sort of identify some sources of stress where work is in concern. The first one is, I think a lot of you have already highlighted in our Slido. A lot of us are feeling a lot of insecurity at the moment. People are concerned about what's going to happen with their job, with their employment. There is a lot of layoff that's happening, retrenchment that's happening, especially in certain sectors, banking, tech, etc. There is massive layoff and retrenchment. And there is probably even more to come depending on how the economic go, US elections, etc. There is a lot of uncertainty looming our way. There is also a lot of heightened concern around work-life balance, especially after COVID. There is a blurring of boundaries between work and personal life, especially for those of us that work from home. And this leads to burnout and exhaustion. The third source comes from, with the emergence of a lot of technology advancement like AI, it's rapidly changing the world and the industry that we're working in. And it causes a lot of anxiety and kind of rapid ramp up in terms of our skill sets in order to keep up. But it also causes a lot of anxiety that it may take over our work, especially those that is not embracing AI at the moment or not learning fast enough. Lastly, one stress could be around relationship at work. I think relationship with colleagues, with bosses, especially some of you be in an environment whereby there is unhealthy office politics. This often leads to unwanted stress and loss of motivation on top of the heavy workload that we're already battling with. Besides work, next slide, I also want to share that, stress can also come from other major life events. Our life is not just made out of work. We are multi-dimensional. There are other aspects of our life. And sometimes the other aspect can also cause us stress. And to help you to better understand where you are at, I've compiled a list of what I just call a simplified stress checklist of some of the major life events that may potentially impact your mental health as well. So do take a moment to scan through the list item. Is that something that apply to you of what you are experiencing right now or what you have experienced over the last 6 months? This isn't about, judging ourselves. Again, there's no right or wrong. Life happens, but it's a way to create self-awareness that we know that, if we are going through certain life events, please acknowledge it and be gentle with yourself, because it definitely will have an impact in terms of you, your mental health, or even in manifested in other aspects of your life. The more items that you tick off that's happening in your life, definitely the heightened level of stress that you may be experiencing, and potentially this will impact your mental health as well, especially those on the left-hand side column. I'll just pause here for a minute for you to scan through, because there is actually quite a number of them. And there is a lot that, I won't say pleasant or unpleasant, but it just happened to us, and it's something that we need to deal with. All right, I'll move on. And I think some of you probably mentally have already checked off some of the items here. We'll just move on to the next slide. In terms of, I think there was one question that came in with the registration. How do we know that, our mental health is being impacted? So stress impact all of us in different ways and to different degree, as all of us have different life circumstances and maybe even different tolerance level towards stress. But that, by and large, there are 3 telltale signs that tell us that we are feeling stressed and potentially impacted in terms of our mental well-being. The first one is around diminished productivity. You may find yourself in a situation that you have difficult kind of difficulty in terms of concentrating. You may feel decrease in motivation or an inability to complete tasks effectively. And you just feel like, you're not as productive as you used to be, or, time go on and you just find yourself not achieving anything. This could be one of the signs. The second impact is around your health, and this includes both your physical health and your mental health. Physical health could be things like you may feel headache, body pain, you can't sleep, or it kind of increases your blood pressure, your cholesterol, etc. So when you go for your, usual body checkup, then you realize, there's a lot of red flag this year compared to a few years ago. And actually that could be a sign of, your body breaking down because of stress. And in terms of the mental health, anxiety definitely is one of the first things that will show up. And if it's not being managed well, it leads to burnout, and even more severe, it leads to depression. And that's something that we need to be mindful of. At certain point, if we can't manage it ourselves, we do need to seek professional help. And the third way that stresses can show up in our life is around relationship we have with other people. It could be with your family, your loved one, or colleague, bosses at work. When we are stressed, we get very agitated, impatient, and we snap at other people often, and we often cannot listen properly. And this causes a strain in our relationship, leading to communications breakdown and conflict. So today, we'll be talking about some of the strategies and exercise that can help us improve our mental health, especially during those stressful moments. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. And to begin, I think I like to do a brief mindfulness exercise to help to center all of us. It's 8:25 p.m. in the evening. Some of you may have just rushed back from work or just having your dinner or just finished your dinner. Or maybe you had a bad day. Some things didn't go well. The project didn't turn out the way it want to be. Or maybe you have issues with your colleagues or your bosses. Or maybe your children have just made you angry. So whatever the situation might be, you are here now. And it's very important that you have a very clean and relaxed state of mind for the next hour that we spend together. And you should dedicate this time to no one but yourself. I'm going to take you through a quick mindfulness exercise just to help to ground all of us. First, I'd like you to find a comfortable position, whether you are standing or sitting. You can choose to close your eyes if you feel more comfortable and just focus on your breathing. We are going to use what I call the 3-2-4 breathing method. You breathe in for a count of 3, hold for a count of 2, then slowly exhale for a count of 4. Let us try. Breathe in, 1, 2, 3. Hold, 1, 2, and slowly exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. With every breath that you take in, I want you to feel your lungs expanding and your chest rising, taking in all the goodness and the warmth from the universe. With every breath that you take out, I want you to feel all the tension in your body, all the stress and the worry slowly releasing and melting away as you are breathing out. Do this for another 3 breaths at your own pace. Gently open your eyes when you are ready. How do you feel? Do you feel more relaxed and more grounded? Mindfulness and breathing is a very simple and yet powerful tool to help you to reduce stress and enhance mental wellness. You can do this very simple breathing exercise yourself whenever you feel stressed or anxious. Okay, if everyone is ready, let's move on to the next slide. Let me share a little bit of my own journey here. A few years ago, I went through a period of intense stress. That was during COVID-19. First, I was with Shell at that point in time, and during COVID-19, the oil and gas industry was impacted very badly. There was a lot of uncertainty at work. My role was made redundant, and my employment was at risk. At that time, I was also in a transition. I was moving back from overseas to Singapore because I want to be back home with my parents. Because of the move, my children was also impacted. They were in their major years, like sitting for major exams like IGCSE and IB, and their studies were disrupted as we have to move back to Singapore. School were closed, and there's a lot of uncertainty as to what will happen. And at the same time, my mom was sick. So there was a lot of things that was happening in my life. I was feeling very lost, very overwhelmed. And every day just feel like there is a huge rock pulling me down. During that time, I was very mindful that my mental health was impacted. And I start looking for ways to cope and to thrive and to improve my mental wellness. I rely very heavily on some of these practices that I'm going to share with you tonight. Practices around self-compassion, gratitude, and about building resilience. These strategies helped me to survive during those periods. And today I'm going to share those strategies and some of the things that I've done with you. We will be diving into self-compassion, gratitude, and resilience exercises, 3 very powerful tools in today's workshop. And I sincerely hope that it will also help you in your own journey. Let's move on to the first exercise on self-compassion. Being self-compassion is about being kind to yourself, and it can be so challenging, but it is very crucial. Let me give you an example. Let's say you have a friend come to you and say, hey, you know what? I messed up at work today, and I'm really feeling very, very lousy. So what would you do? What would you tell your friends? Feel free to type in the chat or unmute yourself. For me, when my friends come to me when they're feeling down, I always lend them a listening ear. I'm always compassionate, empathetic. I try to console them that, you know, things will be okay. Don't worry. It's just one mistake. You can always try again. Just learn from it. And life goes on. Be present and listen. Yeah, that's right. That's what I will do as well. And you won't like scold your friends or say anything negative, right? But now, let's say we change the scenario. You are the one that messed up, right? And let's say you screw up a project today. Your bosses scold you. What will go through in your mind? What would you tell yourself? And again, feel free to share in the chat. For me, the old me, I would say, put it this way, the old me will always jump and kind of say that I'm not good enough, I mess up, you know, why can't I do simple things well? I will not practice the same compassion as I would have to others, to myself. And that was the problem, because I was self-critical, I'm harsh to myself, and I set an impossible bar for myself to hit. And that's a little bit about, you know, being a perfectionist, right? So I'm a recovering perfectionist. And that really took a toll on my mental health, because whatever I do, I will always feel that it's not good enough. So if you are like me in the past, please start to be aware of what you're telling yourself, because what you're telling yourself is so powerful. And self-compassion, meaning you should be treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding that you would offer to a friend or other people. And if you can't, you know, offer it to yourself, who is the most important person in your life? You only have yourself, right? Think of it this way. You should be your biggest cheerleader. You should be the person that loves yourself the most. But yet, in reality, we are always the opposite. We treat ourselves the worst. We tell ourselves the worst things. And we always blame ourselves when things fall apart. It's like, oh yeah, why I can't do this? Why simple things also cannot do? So do you think that's correct? Imagine, would you say such thing to a friend that screw up? You wouldn't, right? So I think starting from today, let's learn to treat ourselves with the same kindness, understanding, and acceptance. And this will help to soften and mitigate the negative effect of stress. If a friend comes to you and say, I'm really stressed, you won't be scolding your friend, right? You'll be working with your friend to help your friend feel better and find strategies to help your friends, you know, get out of the stress. Likewise, I would encourage you to do the same thing for yourself. You have to be your own biggest supporter. Self-appreciation will allow you to see your own strength and accomplishment in a broader context. You need to acknowledge that, you know, you are doing your best, you are trying your best, and that's good enough. Let's acknowledge ourselves, our own strength, as well as acknowledge those people that have helped us in our journey. And it's not easy. It takes a lot of practice. And I'm still learning myself. Although I must say that I have improved so much over the last few years, but there are times that I still fall back onto it, the old ways. And I think the more you are conscious of it, the better you will get. And for tonight, for those of you that is new to self-compassion, let's try to do one exercise together. Okay, if we can turn to the instruction of the next slide. So in this exercise, it'd be good that if you can grab a pen or paper, if you have, or those of you that have no access to pen or paper, you may also can use your phone or tap into your PC, or in worst case, mental note, because writing down, it actually have a therapeutic effect and you can always refer back to it. So give you 30 seconds, go and grab a pen and paper. Okay, so for this activity, I like you to write down 3 to 5 things you like and you appreciate about yourself. Think about your own strength, your skills and competency, your values, or even your past achievements. No matter how big or small, you can write 3 to 5 for a minimum, or you can write as many as you want. Okay, but minimum, I like you to write minimum 3 to 5 things you like and appreciate about yourself. Please be honest. And if the same thing happened to a person, you would say that's a strength, but it's just that you don't apply it to yourself. So don't use that double standard for yourself, okay? Apply it as you would apply to other people. After you've written down all the things that you like and appreciate about yourself, I want you to reflect on what you have written. Just read through it, as if you are a third person. Just read through it with no lenses, with no colored lenses or no judgment. And then feel for yourself, how do this quality make you feel? As if you are reading another person's strength and achievements and quality. How does this strength make you feel about that person? And that person being you. I want you to take a moment and just sit and enjoy that feeling of appreciation for yourself. And that's so important. And then ask yourself, with that feeling, how can you practice self-compassion more regularly and more often in your life? Okay, any questions on the instructions? Otherwise, I'll give you 5 minutes for this activity. Okay, let's begin. I will be timing. So let's grab a pen and paper and start writing down. And again, minimum, I like to see 3 to 5 things that you have written down. So don't be shy. You're the only one saying it. I'm not asking you to show to the whole world or to everyone in the room here. It's for you only. So please be honest and just write down, your strength, your skills and competency. Could be something you like about your values or your achievements. Kai Ling say it's very interesting. When I look at my strength, I have some doubt whether they are really strength, but only when I hear Dane's word and looking at it neutrally from a third party, I feel a great sense of respect for the person. I'm totally with you. The first time that I did this a few years ago, I was working with a coach, and my coach was telling me to write down as many as I can and read it out loud as if I'm reading somebody else's, i.e. I change the name instead of Dane, I put it as a neutral name and I start reading. And when I read it for the first time, I was really very emotional. Tears start rolling down because for the first time, I can see myself the way that I should be seen, as if it's from a third party. And I realized that, hey, I'm actually not that bad. I'm such an amazing person that I have a lot of strength and have accomplished a lot in life. So I'm totally with you. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm glad that it have helped you. I think it's just a very short 5 minutes, and you can do this at your own pace when you're free. Oh, give yourself some moment, maybe a quiet space or sit in a cafe, lock yourself in the room. Give yourself a space, just start writing down. It can be a form of journaling as well. Just write down a few things a day. I mean, you don't need to force yourself. Just write down whatever that come out in your mind. And this can be your positive log or your strength log. You can just keep adding on to it. And what I do is whenever I feel down or whenever there are moments that I doubt myself, I sometimes actually take it out and reflect upon it. And it does make me feel better about, I actually have a lot of positive qualities that sometimes in moments of difficulty and challenges, you tend to forget. So I highly encourage you to do this exercise again at your own leisure pace. But now that you know how to do it, you can do it anytime. Okay, let's just move on to the next qualities that I like to share. The next strategies that I like to talk about is around gratitude. Gratitude is about finding silver lining in the challenges, because that often change our mindset and perspective towards how we see things. And there are a couple of things that we can do to practice gratitude and to make it more obvious in our life. The first one is identify blessing. You can take time to reflect on the positive aspect of your life, no matter how big or small. One of the things that I've done is at the end of every day, I think to myself and I reflect upon how the day have gone, and I will at least pick up one thing that I'm grateful for, and one thing that I feel, gratitude towards, that have helped me to build a lot of positivity over the long period. Just even one small things like how things have gone well in that day, or how, I'm able to keep up with my projects on time, or I met a person that, have a kind smile or exchange some nice words to me. It can be big or small. It need not be like you have to win a Olympics medal, then you think it's a blessing or you think it's a strength. It can be small things in your life as well. Start noticing all the blessing that you have, having food to eat, having a roof over our top, and having people around us to share both joy and difficult time with. So that's one, identify blessing. The second one is express appreciation. And I feel that is very powerful, because the more I appreciate other people, I felt like it's like a ping pong. The more it comes back to me. So now I give thanks to my friends, my families, and my colleagues about all the big and the little things that they have done for me. And people are telling me that, they are not even aware that what they have done have an impact on me. But I always make sure that I let them know, and I do not take things for granted. I do not take people for granted now. And when I start doing it, I can see it replicating. Like there are people who are now telling me, they thank me for all the things that I've done for them as well. And this kind of create positivity and uplifting and sort of relationship with people around you. Try this. I think this is really powerful. And the third one is around reframing challenges. It's about shifting your perspective to start viewing obstacles as opportunities. So if I reflect back at COVID, right, I now start to reframe and start telling people that I think the pandemic is a gift. Why do I say that? It was only when my job was made redundant and I was retrenched. Sure, I mean, initially I was scared, I was lost, just like anybody would, right? But now that I realize the blessing, I realize it's actually an opportunity for me to take a break, reset, and reflect on what I truly want to do in my life. I would imagine that if that have not happened, I would have gone on and on just working in the corporate world. I was just like a corporate zombie in the past, similar to a hamster in the wheel, just running, firefighting every day, non-stop, but not sure of where I'm heading. And I know that a lot of corporate executives feel exactly the same way as me. But because of the reset, it gave me a chance to reconnect with myself, my family, and people around me. It also gave me a chance to become an entrepreneur, a dream that was deep-seated in me for a long time, but I never have the courage to try. I now run a coaching and consulting business that I truly enjoy. I feel very inspired by what I do. I'm also feeling very fulfilled and happy to see the impact of my work have on other people. So again, if you face challenges, think of a way of how you can reframe it and try to see what are the opportunity that is presented in your way. And to do this, I have a little exercise for you. And that is about, finding gratitude, which are actually the gift coming from problem. Same thing, grab a pen and paper. I want you to now think of a challenging or not so ideal event, something that didn't happen so well, and identify at least 3 positive outcomes, or if there's no positive outcome, it can be 3 learnings or lessons that you have gathered from that experience. Then reflect on what you have written down and ask yourself, how does recognizing this positive outcome or learnings make you feel? And how can you incorporate this gratitude into your daily life? You have 5 minutes to do this exercise, and I want you to, at the end of it, take a moment to let this sense of gratitude really wash over you and immerse in the sense of gratitude. I hope everyone have a chance to write down the challenges that you face and what are your positive outcome or learnings. I open up to the floor to see who would like to share their reflections in terms of their gratitude. You can share how you feel or what have you learned in this exercise and what difference have it made for you. And we know that recognizing positive outcome in our life actually have a profound effect in terms of how we feel towards the situation and help us to reframe some of the challenges that we faced in the past into a more positive outlook. Likewise, you can do it for your current experiences, current event that you're facing, or even potential future one, and find that silver lining in the midst of the chaos.
Adeline here. I think being anchored in purpose is important because when you're anchored in your purpose, you know that whatever comes your way is just a passing, right?
Yeah, I think the purpose is the North Star. So once you're guided by the North Star, what that is coming your way, you know is temporary, because in the long run, if you draw a line over the timeline, you know where you're heading. So it's so important that we are guided by our values and our purpose. That's something that I think a lot of us are trying to find the anchor, because without anchor, you are like being swayed in the wind, and it's just like being caught in a storm, right? Without an anchor, your boat kind of rock left, right, center, like Viking, like in a roller coaster. But if you have an anchor, it's almost like a thread that no matter how you swing, you still go back to the same place and heading to the directions that you want. So thank you so much for sharing, Adeline. Appreciate it. We also have on the chat, the deeper the pit, the greater the struggle to get out, and the more memorable, intense the takeaway. This is so profound. I truly agree, because it is true. Deep challenges that you have deep learnings and maybe even deeper rewards. And we also have another one in terms of, I'll just share the reframe and not what happened, but the reframe here, the reflection is that if we reframe the negative experience with the positive takeaway, that will help us. Number one, we know what to do the next time. We won't repeat the same mistake, right? But it also helps us to see things in a more positive light and not beat ourselves up all the time. So thank you so much for those that have shared in the chat. I'll move on to the third strategies in terms of the mental wellness that I'd like to share tonight. It's about building resilience. Recognizing our own personal strength, especially during challenging time, help us to be stronger. It's almost like the anchor that Adeline talked about. And again, back to my own story, during the transitions, right? I was coming out of the corporate job after 25 years. It is totally a leap of faith that I jumped into something unknown. It was a very bold move. And obviously, initially, you feel very excited, like you go and learn, you really jump into it, feeling very excited. But after that, I mean, to be very frank, there will always be a lot of fear and uncertainty slowly creeping in, and you start to doubt yourself. Especially, I'm going into an area that I starting literally from scratch. And there's no one around me that I know or in my families are entrepreneur or business owner. Everyone around me are like professionals or executive or working in a corporate job. So it is totally an unfamiliar path, and I'm chatting in an unknown. And a lot of things felt very overwhelming. And in those challenging moments, I realized that resilience is not only about just pushing through, it's also about maintaining optimism and persevering, even when the outcome is uncertain, even when initially things may not go the way you want, or you are not seeing progress, not seeing results. And what I chose to do is to focus on things that I can control. I mean, because there's so many moving parts, right? So when I take stock of things, I focus on what I can control. I break down my goals into smaller, bite-sized, manageable chunks. And each day I set myself small and achievable tasks. And with each task accomplished, I feel better and better every day. And I start to feel a lot more hopeful and gain confidence along the way. And optimism played a very huge role in my journey. I always remind myself every day that every setback is a learning opportunity, not a failure. It is a comma, not a full stop. And I keep looking forward, believing that the work that I do will definitely pay off someday, and it will have an impact on other people, even though I may not see the results right away. Besides optimism, perseverance is also very important, which is why I wanted to highlight here. There are days that, when progress felt really slow and when doubt started creeping in, I know that resilience is not only about having immediate success, it's about showing up every day, doing the work and trusting the process, even though results may not come in, or even though sales may not come in, or you do not receive praises every day. So looking back, right, I think those difficult moments have really helped to build my resilience. They taught me how to be optimistic. They taught me how to be perseverance. And with that skills that I've learned, it now helped me to navigate even the most uncertain path or the most darkest moment. And I now believe that I can come out even stronger on the other side. So the message that I want to share with everyone here is that no matter how tough things may seem at this moment, as long as you stay optimistic and keep pushing forward, you are building the resilience that you need to thrive. And with that, a quick exercise, and this is our final activity for today, is about recognizing resilience and uncovering our strengths from problems and challenges, which is really crucial, especially during difficult times. So the activities here is that recall a time in your life that is particularly challenging or demanding for you. Think about how you have handled that situation and eventually come through on the other side. Reflect on the skills or the strength that you have utilized in dealing with that situation. What skills have helped you? What sort of perspective and mindset have helped you? And how can you apply this resilience thinking more regularly in your life? So in summary, think of one challenge that you have, and then think about, what skill sets or what mindset you have utilized to help you to overcome that challenge, and how can you apply it more often in your life? All right. How does that make you feel? We have done 3 exercises. Any reflections on the exercise that we just did on resilience? Or maybe we can move on to the slides whereby we explore, any insights, any thoughts that you may have of all the exercises that we've done today. So we've covered quite a lot. I wonder whether you feel like your brain is very heavy. In the last 1 hour, we have touched on self-compassion. We touched on gratitude. We did resilience exercise. And we also did a small piece of mindfulness breathing. So I'd like to open up the floor to see if you have any final thoughts, any insights that you have gained while working on the exercise, or any reflections that you may have from today's sessions. Or even Q&A. We can go straight into Q&A if you have any questions. Is there anything that stood out for you? into night exercise. And do share what would you take away from the sessions today. Oh, I can see Aaron have a reflections here. Oh, all the reflections are coming in. Okay, let me try to read them. How many times have we fall back and stand up strong? In terms of work, better now, being employed or freelance. Okay, I think you probably missed the first part that I talk about. I prefer now because I am now living my mission in terms of helping people and impacting life. In terms of relationship, find the right partner or be more loving. Finance, well, that's a good one. Can survive and have more time. The things that keep me going is treating life like an adventure. Love that. Just need to be more resilience and perseverance. The adventure will have a beautiful ending. And I love your reflections, Aaron. Life is a journey and it's evolving, it's ongoing. We will never know where it will lead us to. We just have to have the faith and the belief that we're heading to the directions that we want and trust that you'll bring us there. So practicing things like gratitude, being compassionate to yourself and resilience will definitely help to bring us there. I love your reflections. Change bosses in a number of times in the same company. Besides technical skill, more important is interpersonal skill in adapting different bosses and situations. Love that reflections, Keith. And again, in my last company, I've been re-op 5 times. So every time I change boss, change colleague, change department, and it's always about adapting. And I think you're right to say that sometimes EQ is more important than IQ or even skill sets. Being able to navigate very complex relationship and reporting matrix, especially in today's organization, is so important. So thank you for sharing. And that requires a lot of resilience and adaptability as well. And I was disciplined, focused on controlling my actions, but not the outcome. Regulated my emotions, work on my fitness and health. This helped me to overcome demanding workload. Love that. It's about self-care. And besides, resilience and gratitude, self-compassion, self-care is such an important aspect, especially engage in activities that nourishes your mind, your body, your spirit. And this can be as basic as eating well, sleeping well, and regularly exercising, because a little self-care go a long way. And another tip that I have is about maintaining work-life balance. A lot of us, especially in the virtual work environment, we lost touch and we struggle with setting limits and establishing boundaries between work life and personal life. So in your calendar, if possible, do establish designated working hours and resting hours. And I'm sure a lot of us are guilty working over weekends and holidays. This again, over the long run, will make you feel fatigued, tired, burnt out. So please be mindful of that as well. There's one more about receiving feedback. Is about accepting it and making real changes according to the feedback. And there's a saying that I've heard, feedback is a gift. So if the person bothered to give you a feedback, receive it with open heart, both good and bad of it. But of course, you need to regulate your own emotions. If it's good, accept it with gratitude. If it's bad, understand where the person is coming from, but more importantly, understand how you can improve and change so that the next time when it happens, you can be a better version of yourself. And want to be of service helps. Honestly, I'm so with you in terms of that. What I've learned in my previous job and current is about having the service mindset, being a servant leadership. And if you put other people first, results will follow. But if you keep putting yourself first, even when you reach the destinations, the result, you will still very, very lonely. When you turn back, you find that you're all alone and no one is walking behind you. Being humble to admit my way can be not suitable. Okay, this is about the growth mindset. As we are always learning, we are open to suggestions and open to changes. And we always flex our muscle. We learn, we pivot, we adapt. And this is, part of learning and keeping ego in check. That's such a good advice. Thank you, Ying-Ting. And just to summarize, we have explored the importance of self-compassion, gratitude, and resilience. I really hope that you can integrate this practice in your daily life and continue to support one another in the mental wellness journey. And if you have any further questions or if you need additional support, please feel free to reach out to myself, the TCC, or to Adeline. So with that, I thank you, everyone, and I'd like to hand over the time back to the facilitator, Kai-Ling and Jesslyn.
Thanks, Dane. I think it was like what Adeline shared. It was a very calming session. And I think doing the exercise itself, I think it's also a muscle that I have to build. I realized how difficult it was for me to start, to actually like really dig deep and try to find like what are some of the, to really express like self-compassion for myself and gratitude, and also like building resilience. It's a muscle that I think all of us should flex and use, not just one time off like today, but I think we have to try to make it a habit and build this muscles. And with that, I think we come to the end of this month's Courage Cafe. Thank you for attending this month's Courage Cafe. And if you haven't already, please, if you're interested to stay tuned to some of the events that we've run, this is our QR code. And in case you don't know, we actually have a community. The QR code will lead you to a community form. And then you will also receive an automated email with a Calendly invite. So what this means is that after you sign up, you can always take up like 30 minutes, book 30 minutes of myself or Karin's time just to understand more about what Courage Chapter does. And also if you're looking for a next chapter, especially in terms of looking at what type of like jobs and project opportunities are available, we are available to have a chat further to understand more about your needs and what does your next chapter look like. So we hope to see you sometime soon. And for next month, we are running the next month's webinar with Josephine. So the topic will be about creating a lasting legacy that really reflects your values and passions. And with that, this is the QR code you can see on the screen above, and that's the end of this evening session. Really, thank you so much for joining the call today.
Thank you so much for having me, Kai-Ling and Jesslyn, and hope everyone have enjoyed today's sessions. See you next time. Bye-bye.